atomic clouds. Can Iran convince its intentions are honest? Will North Korea enter the fold? The 2012 Nuclear Security Summit on RT.
Hi, welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to go to Germany and speak with independent journalist Lars Scholl. Lars, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Hi, Max.
Okay, Lars Scholl, you've just published an investigation into insider trading in relation to the attacks of 9/11. First, tell us about the original mainstream media reports. What had they said at the time about the suspicious trading?
Well, there were a lot of reports in Barron's, in the Wall Street Journal, and other publications which said that insiders of the terror attacks could have profited from those terror attacks via speculative trades, put options, call options, and such things. But then in October, November, December, it went on, but then was abruptly over with this reporting.
So how much had the put option volume increased prior to the attacks, and in what shares specifically?
Yeah, sometimes sixfold. For example, related to Raytheon, the producer of Tomahawk and Patriot missiles that were used then in the war on terror. But also, these were call options. And then there were also put options on banks that were placed in the WTC, and also reinsurers like Munich Re and Swiss Re, but also AXA. And these were put options, basically, where you bet that stock price will drop.
Yes, well, in the case of the airline stocks, the put options, the volume and the prices, it appeared as though they were reflecting blown-up airlines before there were any blown-up airlines. It reminded me at the time of what we saw happen with Morton Thiokol after the Space Challenger disaster. Those options traded spectacularly based on that explosion. Here we saw it happen before the explosion. Now, in the 9/11 Commission report also states that there was what looked like suspicious trading, but that on closer inspection, they said it was a reputable firm that had placed these airline put option trades. Tell us about this reputable firm, Alex Brown.
Yeah, it was Alex Brown, which is a subsidiary of Deutsche Bank. And they said that this is completely harmless. But what is really interesting here is that the executive director of the CIA at the time of the 9/11 attacks came directly from Alex Brown. And another interesting thing is that the CEO of Alex Brown, on the time of September 11th, on the next day he resigned from his post, even though he had still a contract for 3 years at Alex Brown. So this is a little bit strange, isn't it?
Well, it demonstrates a direct pipeline of information between the CIA, Alex Brown, where these put options are. And I believe after the events, something like $5 million of profits were never claimed, correct?
Yeah, there are different numbers out, but we can say something in between 2 million and 5 million, yes. But next, maybe I should mention one thing, that there are actually 3 scientific papers about this stuff. One came from the University of Zurich. Mark Chesney is the leading professor there. It's called Detecting Informed Trading in the Option Markets. And everyone who wants to question this topic should read this.
Okay, well, let's talk about Deutsche Bank, of course, is the bank that ended up buying Alex Brown. What has been their response as part of this investigation, Lars?
Yeah, it's the Deutsche Bundesbank, the central bank of Germany, because the head back then in 2001, Ernst Welteke, said that informed trading occurred in the international markets. And I questioned or I forwarded a request to the Deutsche Bundesbank, but they stonewalled. They were only available for me for an oral information, and that was basically that they said, well, the board of the Deutsche Bundesbank was informed on this stuff via charts and analysis from their own house, but they made no real own analysis. And the same applied to other places where I went. They all did not want to talk with me about this topic, like, for example, the Deutsche Börse or Eurex, which is the futures market here in Germany, and the Swiss futures markets. They don't want to talk about, for example, the results of the scientific paper of Professor Mark Chesney.
All right. Well, presumably there are insiders who would come forward if the government offered some kind of protection or interest in finding out more about this advanced knowledge insider trading around the events of 9/11. Those insiders who may have spoken directly with people involved in these trades would feel more comfortable speaking on the record if the government expressed some interest. Without that, however, certain insiders, I'm sure, will continue to stay behind the scenes. But speaking of German banks, in Germany, of course, you've also done some investigative work into the gold reserves of the central bank and the fact that they don't actually have 60% of what they say they have. Tell us more about that, Lars.
Well, about 66% of the German gold is located in New York. About 21% are located in London, even though the information there is very vague. For example, the chief analyst of the Bremer Landesbank, and I know you know about the Landesbanks in Germany, Volker Hellmeier, he told me that actually there is very little gold left from Germany in London. But the chunk of Germany's gold is not in Germany, it is in New York. And every time when I asked the New York Fed, for example, or the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., if they have swap arrangements with the German Bundesbank, they never ever told me anything about it. They don't even repeat, or they never really wrote me something. They have, at the New York Fed, they have an automatic response system. And that says every time when I wrote to them, we will come back to you as soon as possible, but there was never any possibility.
Well, I think there's a fear in the Bundesbank that if they pursue the topic too aggressively, they would find out that the U.S. has hypothecated the gold to back up some of these bank bailouts, and so the gold doesn't exist anymore in terms of anything that Germany can lay claims on. I hope Germany doesn't think that they have that gold actually in their name. But getting back to the insider trading around 9/11 and the insiders who profited from advanced knowledge trading the airline put options, the inside information story in the U.S., of course, Congress is allowed to trade on inside information. So potentially Budgie Krongard, who you mentioned, and other Congress people and insiders in the intelligence industry potentially profiting from trading on these puts, and many of the millions of dollars were never collected at Alex Brown Deutsche Bank from the profiteering that went on from this. It's an inside information is legal, so you know, maybe they should take more pride in their prowess as traders and step forward and let people know that they're such good traders. If they're going to have insider trading, Lars, why can't people be more braggadocio about their success trading on inside information? Your thoughts?
Well, I think the inconvenient stuff here is that the trade was not organized in an Afghan cave. And this is basically the official story, that the terror attacks came from somewhere in the Orient and were not fabricated on home turf in the USA itself.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to determine exactly where the planning for the attacks came from, but clearly there was enough insider information inside the U.S. ahead of the attacks to, at the very least, they could have prevented the attacks. Clearly somebody in Washington felt it was in their interest to profit from the attacks, they put that ahead of the interest of those who suffered catastrophic loss during the attacks. And that has become kind of the story of the American policy going forward, isn't it? The bankers, it's a great microcosm of what's happened since then. The bankers put their interests and their profits ahead of people. It doesn't matter if people die in the U.S. or die overseas. Their profits come first. Your thoughts, Lars?
Well, the funny thing is you talk a lot about financial terrorists, and here we have terror traders, period.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this has become the de facto modus operandi of the U.S. in terms of what's going on Wall Street. This is why I think, I'm curious what your thoughts are, but on the Occupy Wall Street front, they seem to underestimate the tyrannical terrorist quotient operating on Wall Street. They think that by simply waving a placard here and there, they're going to gain some traction. I don't think they understand who they're dealing with, people on Wall Street who are willing to profit from 9/11 deaths ahead of the interest of the general population. I'm not sure if they were willing to take that on board, maybe they would change their tactics a little bit. Is there any kind of Occupy Wall Street thing going on in Germany, Lars?
Yeah, but not really that I take it serious. They have no real program. It's like the Pirate Party that here is now existing in Germany. They have no program. They're just improvising. And I think they have good intentions, but I don't think that anything good will happen from that.
Right. My understanding is that the Pirate Party is now in Germany. They've been opening up chapters all over the world. And I know in Germany there is a tremendous hacker community. Going forward, do you see any interest in that hacker community building and doing some more investigation into the missing German gold or the option profiteering ahead of 9/11? Anything in the hacker community that you're sensing?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really into this, but I have a lot of respect for the German hackers. They are very good, I think.
Bringing it back to the gold story, Lars, is the population in Germany concerned at all that the 60% of their gold appears to be missing?
No. And they are basically what you have also with the Occupy movement. You have that people are not really educated financially. So why should they care if they don't know what the value of gold really is among central banks in politics? You know, for example, why I have a focus on this is because I think that oil and other commodities will be paid in the future with gold. But tell this to the average person on the street. He will not understand why there might be a connection between gold and oil and such things. And this is why I am concerned about this. But the general population here in Germany, no. And why should they? They have heard now about this from a rag, a real rag, a Bild Zeitung. It's a bad tabloid. And they will not fight tooth and nail that Germany will get the gold back. No, you can forget about this. And it would be totally naive to think that Germany will get its gold back, if it exists at all. And I doubt this.
All right. Well, certainly it's a story that is worth keeping an eye on. Lars Scholl, we're out of time. Thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. And I want to thank my guest, Lars Scholl. If you want to send me an email, please do so at keiserreport@rttv.ru. Until next time, Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.